All right, which of these do you think is the digital amp and which is the real amp? All right, what's up guys? Jordan here. So my course members for a while now have been asking me about digital amps, amp sim plugins, and they've been asking for my recommendations, and how to work with them. And to be honest, for a long time, I didn't really have a good answer because I had not really experienced a really great sounding amp sim plugin that I felt comfortable saying, yeah, I would use this on a real record. I just hadn't found anything yet. But I recently started playing around with the Archetype Nolly plugin from Neural DSP, and no, I'm not getting paid to do this video or anything like that. I bought this plugin with my own money, and I'm going to let you know what I think of it in this video and show you some A/B examples and let you know whether or not this thing is the real deal. So let me jump in. I'll show you what I've been doing with it, how I've been testing it, and I'll start with this example from the track I just showed you. So again, I said, which one do you think is the Neural DSP plugin, the Nolly plugin, and which one is the real amp that I recorded? So let me do a quick A/B again here. Here's the other one. Let's check another section. And a chorus section, I'll solo it this time. All right, so I don't know what you guessed, but in all those examples, the first one, so the A version was the Neural DSP plugin, the B version was an actual amp and cab that I recorded. So what I recorded in this session here, I'll play it for you. That's original 5150 into a Mesa 2x12 cabinet with vintage 30 speakers, mic'd with a single SM57. And so I tried to kind of mimic it with this Nolly plugin here. And man, I'll tell you, when I first fired this plugin up with the 5150 and I had my guitar plugged in, I started playing, I was like, wow, this actually sounds like a real amp. It sounds like a 5150, especially when I put the knobs where I would usually put the knobs. It sounds like what I would expect. So again, I'll just flip back and forth. This one that's currently soloed is the real amp. And then this one over here is the Nolly plugin. So let's go back and forth here. So obviously it's not exactly the same tone. I don't think you can ever really take a real amp that you've recorded and then completely duplicate the tone in a different plugin. But what I've been doing is, in this session and other sessions I'm going to show you, is I've been going to these real guitar amp tracks that I've recorded and trying to mimic it and get the same basic character, the same flavor, the same essence of the guitar tone with this plugin. And the results have been pretty cool. So again, even in solo, when you're flipping back, it's not the exact same tone. That's not ever going to happen. But when we listen in the context of the mix, it's kind of hard to say that one is better than the other. So again, let's listen with the plugin. Real amp. Let's go to another part. That was the Nolly plugin, and here's the real amp. So again, I'm using the 5150 model here. They don't specify what it is, but it's clear looking at it that that's what it is. And then I ended up using the second cab version here. Again, I have no idea what the cab models here are. They don't specify, but just a single SM57, played around with the positioning, and then also use kind of a Tube Screamer style overdrive here into it. Again, just the exact same way I would have recorded these guitars in the studio. So to me, that came pretty darn close. In fact, again, the tones are different when we flip back and forth, but I would say just listening to this in the context of the mix, I would be comfortable using the tone from this Nolly plugin in place of the real amp tone that I had. They're different, but it's not like one is worse and one is better, or one is obviously digital and one is obviously not. To me, I can't tell that difference. So there's like a heavy example, kind of metalcore example. Let me flip to another session and I'll show you something that's more of a rock tone. Okay, so this is my mix session for a Silverstein song off their 6th record. It's called California. So let me play you kind of the original mix as it was with the real amps on the rhythm guitars. All right, so I'll mute those rhythm guitars, the originals, and then go to my digital version with the Nolly plugin. And let's hear that. Again, quick A/B. That's the real amps. Here's the digital. Man, that is pretty darn close. Let's hear it in solo. That's the Nolly plugin. Here's the amps I recorded. So again, is the tone exactly matched? No, it's modeling a different amp, one that's been modded, different caps, stuff like that. But the essence is there. Like in the context of the mix, it's like it's the same characters. It's accomplishing the same thing, and I think it sounds great. So this time I'm using the this head here, which is basically modeled after JCM 800. Got some slight mods, some differences and whatever, but it's basically a JCM 800. And the reason I really love this plugin is because when I had my project studio and I was tracking bands day in and day out, I had 2 amps that I owned for my studio. It was a 5150 and a JCM 800, and those covered the bases from heavy stuff, hardcore stuff, rock, metal, to pop punk and pop rock and stuff like this with the JCM 800. So with these 2 amps, which I always ran through my Mesa 2x12 cab, I could pretty much get tones for 95% or probably 99% of the records that I was working on. So the fact that these 2 amps are modeled inside this plugin is perfect for me because, again, these are like my go-to tones. And I think it does a great job of doing the high gain tones with the 5150 and even this model too. But even more of the lower gain kind of crunchy tones, it's doing a great job at that as well. So let's just check this out one more time here. We'll go to the course. This is the plugin. This is the real amp. Plugin. Sounds awesome to me. So that was the second thing I tried out after the 5150. I was like, all right, let's check out the 800. And man, this is really doing the job that my 800 used to do, as you can hear in this session. So let's go to another example. All right, so now this is a session for the Intervals record, one of them that I recorded and mixed. This is the song Ephemeral, but the session I've loaded up here is not the final mix session. It's like the working session. It's basically with kind of like before I did everything in the mix. It's just the raw tracks pretty much. So I tried to kind of, again, mimic the rhythm tone from this record. And it's a lot different than kind of the other tones that I just showed you. But it was still, actually it was with an Axe effect. So we're not even using the same amp here. But let's see what we dialed in with the 5150 rig here. So actually, let me show you the original tone first. This is what we actually tracked, what's on the record. Let me mute the lead guitar so we can hear that better. that's the tone on the record. Here's the tone with the Nolly plugin. I'll go back and forth again. Here's the real one, and then the next one will be the plugin. It's the plugin. Let's check out that verse section again, and A/B again. We'll start with the axe effects and then go to the plugin. So man, again, that was an axe effects, and this is a completely different rig here in the plugin, both digital amps, but man, we got it sounding pretty close again. So I used the 5150 again this time, but a lot different settings here, vastly different than the first example I showed you, using a different cab as well, but we got pretty close to that tone. And again, it sounds pro. It's not the exact same, but it's in the same ballpark. It's reaching the same bar, I guess, of what I would consider, man, this sounds like a solid guitar tone that I would use in the mix without having to mangle it with a bunch of EQ and stuff afterwards. Like, this is just coming out straight out of the plugin. So I did that, and I thought, okay, what about the lead tone? So again, here's the lead tone I came up with for this intervals track using the delay that's built into this plugin here. So that's the plugin. Here's the original tone that I actually recorded. Here's the plugin again. So that's great as well. It's passing every test to me. I'm going to show you one other one that's kind of a completely different tone, more of a grungy indie rock tone. So let me load up another session here. All right, here we go. So this one's completely different. So let me play for you just the original mix here. So pretty cool, like dirty indie rock tone here. That was the real amp that I recorded. I actually don't remember which amp this was. It was probably the JCM 800 though. And then here's what I got out of the Nolly plugin. It's just as cool. Let me A/B one more time. This is the plugin. This is the amp I recorded. So this is the recording again, the real amp. Here's the plugin. Now, on second thought, maybe I'm wrong. The original tone I recorded here, it might not have been an 800. It might have been like a smaller amp, maybe a Fender or something that we tried to drive really hard. I honestly can't remember, but in the Nolly plugin here, I decided to try and experiment with the first amp, the one that's on the left here. And I actually, again, I don't know what this exactly is modeled after, but crank the gain up a little bit, fool around, get the master, the output gain cranked up here, and then using the second version of the overdrive pedal to shape the tone a little bit and add some more boost. I was able to get a pretty similar kind of dirty, grungy tone. Let's hear it. Here's the original again. Now, to me, even though the tones are different, when we listen to the mix, one more A/B. Here's the plugin. It's got the same character. It's doing the same thing in the mix. So look, those are just a few examples for you of the tones that I've been dialing in, and I've been having fun, not only just actually playing with my guitar here through the amps, but loading up a lot of my old mixes like this and trying to get close to the tones I got out of my real amps. And let me tell you, I think this is the real deal. This is the best amp sim plugin that I have personally tested and used to this date. And it's probably the first time that I downloaded an amp sim plugin to try it out and loaded it up and instantly thought, oh wow, this could actually work. And it does work. So I definitely recommend it. I've created a pack of presets for you guys. So all of the settings that I just showed you, including this dirty rock tone, the California Silverstein tone, the intervals tone, the original one that's called Kingdom's Rhythm here, the first one that I showed you, and also some other tones, a pop crunch tone, again with the 800, and then it did like a pop punk tone with the 800. And these are all meant to mimic the go-to tones and rigs that I had in the studio on a bunch of different records, the Silverstein, intervals, counterparts, all sorts of bands like that, Neck Deep. And I think you guys will be just as impressed with this. So if you don't have this plugin already, definitely check out the trial of it. If you're a member of one of my courses, so the Pro Production System or Hardcore Tracking, Hardcore Mixing, if you're an actual member of those courses, check out your email because I'm going to be sending you a special offer to get this plugin, not because there's any incentive for me, but just because I really believe that this is the amp sim plugin that you want to be using if you're not recording real amps. So big props to Neural DSP and for Nolly on what they did on this plugin. Sounds awesome. I'm really, really happy with it. And I think I'm going to be using this thing a lot going forward. So click the link in the description if you want to download my preset pack to get all these settings that I just showed you and a few more. Check out the plugin. Let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you again soon.